Okay, so I went all the way around inside the background and just brought some more of this in. And you can see I went a little bit too fast here, but for demo purposes, you get it. But if you start seeing patterns form like this, then you need to go back and stamp those out and spend a little more time like in areas like here and here. You can see a little bit of a line here. But overall, for something that I did very quickly, it's not bad considering we didn't have a super great background. Now, another technique that you can do to even soften the background a little bit more, but keep it realistic, is you could now put a layer in here that's the same color as your background or very close. And you can see if you take that layer and you have it like full brightness, obviously it defeats the whole purpose because it looks artificial right now. But if I take the opacity and I bring it down, I think I had it somewhere around 15, 16. Let's try that. You can see like that it just makes a little difference of cleaning it up a little bit. And it'll look even better once it's cropped and the other things are gone. But again, just what other than those little things that I said could be a little bit better that I could have taken more time on cropping, it's not bad for a roll of paper towels. Okay, now the assumption is that this image right here is your print image. So what do I mean by that? Well, we have not gotten rid of any pixels. We are going to crop it, which will get rid of some, but we haven't reduced the size of it or anything like that. And one thing that typically happens when you print an image is that it softens a bit. So you typically want to sharpen the image up a bit. But if you do that and then it's too much, it's very problematic. So I'm going to show you a way to do that where it won't cause any problems with the image. But you want to make sure that you've done all of your cloning and everything is just right. And the way that I'm going to show you how to sharpen this image, it makes sense to have the image at 300 pixels per inch. And typically when you open an image, it will be at 72 pixels per inch. So you just go up to image, image size. The most important thing here is to uncheck sample. We do not want to change the pixel dimensions of this image at all. And if you look up here at the pixel dimensions, you'll see that they don't change at all. All that happens is the size of the image in inches or millimeters or whatever will change, but nothing else changes. Okay, then to do this so that we can later change the amount of sharpening, we need to do a smart sharpening or convert this to a smart object for sharpening. So you go up to filter and you go convert for smart filters, and you'll see that this image now looks different. So it's very important before you do this step that everything about that layer is perfect, because now to edit that layer requires some weird steps that I'm not going to get into in this video. But now we go filter, we go to sharpen and smart sharpen. And then we are going to make sure that we have an area of the image in here that makes sense for previewing. So I'm going to make it real small, put it in there, and then we'll just move it around as we need to. But actually, that's not too bad. And then what you do is you set the radius to the amount of pixels per inch you have divided by 100. So at 300 pixels per inch, you set this to 3. And then we're just going to play around with the amount. And it's easy to go too far. What it does is it kind of breaks the image apart. It's almost like pixelization. So definitely don't go too far with this. Sometimes it's hard to even tell that you're really doing anything at this point, but let's just say we're going to go 195%. We're not going to mess with reduce noise. About 10% is fine, and we're removing lens blur. Then we're going to click OK, and it's going to apply this as a smart filter to the object, and you'll see things change a little bit down here. So now what you can see is that smart object is applied to this layer, and you may not even notice this. You look at this and you say, oh, well, everything looks about what I remember, and then you turn it off and look at the type, and you can see that the type looks a little bit blurrier. But I think I might have gone too far because I've got a little bit of banding in here. But the nice thing is, now all I have to do is double click on Smart Sharpen, opens it back up, and then I can bring that down a little bit. And now we are on to our last step, which is to crop this to get just the right size of this image. So we are going to crop the image now. We select the crop tool, and we want to make sure that there is nothing input in here, because that will definitely change our image. So first thing you should do is just hit the clear button over here. Now when you crop, it's just going to crop whatever size you pick for the image, and it will not reduce the amount of pixels per inch. The resolution will not change. And you really want to get cropping right the first time. You don't want to crop and then crop again, so you would want to Command Z and back up. So that looks pretty decent. And I'd say for simplicity's sake, since you made a backup, just go ahead and check delete cropped pixels. And then you just hit return, and it will do its magic and crop this image for you. And if we go to image size, you can see that the image, if you remember below, is smaller, of course, because we cropped things away, but we didn't change the resolution inside of this part. So this image right now could still be printed at 8.5 by 9 at 300 pixels per inch, which is pretty good size. Okay, and let's Command semicolon to get rid of the guides. We'll hit escape. And you can see that is not really that bad considering what we started with. To give ourselves a pat on the back, let's look at what we started with. So we've got all this stucco over here. We're on a paper towel. It's a little bit too dark. We did a little bit of work in Photoshop. In fact, we went even a little bit too fast and have some areas that could be cleaned up. But this is not bad. This is good enough to put in a portfolio with, given that you maybe put an extra hour into work in the clone stamping that we did. But not bad. There's still that implied shadow here. Here, this one could be a little bit better, like I said, but it doesn't look like it's floating. It looks like it's grounded on a surface. We don't see a distracting area in the background. Now, if you're in the class where you're doing this for your final projects, keep in mind that this would be your print-based project if I ask for that, which would probably turn in as a PSD, but if I don't, then it would just be the JPEGs, and then you're just going to follow the instructions that, well, I'll show you the page that they're on, and then I'll also show you on that same page is the videos for stitching together images, so that if you wanted to do this with, say, it completely closed without the product sitting outside of it, you could stitch those all together. So here we go. We're going to go back to the Prof. Steve G website, and under instructional videos, turn in files, this is where all this other stuff is. So if you need to produce a JPEG for web size for this, you will go down to Photoshop project or image to web size. You will follow this video for that. And if you want to stitch images together, don't do this until you've stitched them together. Don't follow these steps, because the image web size still needs to max out at the dimensions that I give in there, which are that I give to you, which are 1600 pixels wide by 1200 pixels tall. Where are you? And then, so here's the videos that you would follow first if you want to stitch images together, combining images in Photoshop 1 and combining images in Photoshop 2. And then just a reminder of what that means, if you go to back out to the main website here and you go to Student Awards, here's where there's a bunch of different examples of what images look like stitched together. So here's one image, here's another. So you have 4 images all brought together. Here's another example of doing that, and so on. If you scroll down here, you'll see more and more examples of doing just that.